Okay, so starting in this lesson, we're going to start really using perspective, and we're going to start with figure projecting, getting your figures the right size depending on their location within the space of your drawing. This is where it starts to get really real. This is where we begin to combine what we know about figures and perspective to start building real scenes with people in them. So for this lesson, I'm just going to familiarize you with projecting figures in perspective, and after that, we'll move into designing whole scenes with people in perspective. So I like to break this process down into two types of figure projecting, just for convenience. In type 1, the one we're going to be talking about in this video, the horizon line crosses the figures somewhere on their body. This is the easy one, so we're going to be starting with that. And also before we move forward, if you don't have a T-square, even just like a small basic T-square like this, they're extremely useful for perspective drawing, as you'll see. I don't know if you have one, but just shout out to these. If you don't have one of these yet, acquire one of these. They're worth it. Okay, so I have my type 1 picture plane delineated here. Start with a picture plane when working in perspective. It just helps a lot. For starters, let's place a horizon line somewhere around the middle of this plane. See, I'm using the T-square. The T-square grabs onto the edge of the page so you can create perpendiculars on a page. All right, there's our horizon line. Let's put a figure somewhere on the horizon line. Let's say here. And it goes right through his little shoulders. Now, here's why this type of figure projecting is easy. No matter how close or far away this figure is, assuming they're all the same height, which is what we're doing for now, the horizon line will always cross them in the same place. So I'm just going to throw in a bunch of figures to demonstrate. Even if there's someone very far away, extremely small, same height. If there's somebody so close, they look giant here, crosses them the same place through the shoulders. Somewhere in between, same place. Small again, large, overlapping, whatever. This is why this is the easy one. So these guys are all clones. Again, these are all the same height, but this rule applies to characters of different heights as well, obviously. Say we have a short kid. Put him next to this guy for reference. He's a little bit shorter. Same rule applies there. I want to put that kid, a kid of the same size, other places in the frame. We can do that. I'm going to get one real close up. There he is. These kids are all the same height. These adults are all the same height. So the only time this character on the horizon line rule breaks in this type, or any type of perspective really, is if the character is not standing on the same plane, on the same ground that the horizon line is associated with. They all sort of, if we had a vanishing point there in the middle, if this were one point, that would be the ground they were standing on. Now, say a character is not standing on this ground, obviously the rules are going to change a little bit. So let's say there's a little like footstool next to this guy, and we're going to measure him roughly. Awkward angle for me. And put him like up there. And basically you can just do that. As long as he's not moving forward or backward in space, which as we know from these guys would make him a bigger or smaller drawing, you can do that. As long as he's only moving parallel to the horizon line, he's going to be the same size. Similar thing if there were some kind of like sinkhole in the ground or a pond or something, you would measure him and just drop him into that. And that is everything I think for type 1. I'm going to do type 2 in a second video just because it gets more complicated, and if I mess it up I have to restart the video. So I will see you in type 2.